I am Halli Casser-Jayne, and welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, where along with my partner in politics, veteran White House correspondent Matthew Cooper, we slice and dice all things politics, and some days, Donald Trump, too. On this episode of the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, can New York Attorney General Letitia James do what no man has done before? Take out the NRA? COVID-19 cases continue to grow. 150,000 Americans dead. One American dying every 80 seconds. And Trump tells us it is what it is. Election 2020 is almost here, and a discussion on Biden's pick for his vice presidential nominee is on the table. And we're just beginning in our weekly take on all things politics. Oh boy, here we go. Welcome, my friends. Here's where we are this week. We've reached yet another milestone, our weekly event. There are more than 4.83 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States, the largest amount of cases in any country worldwide. More than 159,000 dead, well on our way to that 200,000 that we were warned about, which is now bumped up to something like 250,000 they think is going to happen by November. 1,000 deaths a day. 1,000 deaths a day. We're moving back up that line. Now here's the killer. One American is dying from the disease every 80 seconds, and I wasn't being facetious and trying to be cute with that. One American is dying every 80 seconds from COVID. Yet, Matt, schools are opening up across America, and we've been met with story after story already, reporting cases within 1 day of opening of kids sent home, testing positive for the virus. Trump's response, and I quote, quote unquote, "It is what it is. And not to worry, this thing is going away sooner rather than later," the President of the United States said. But we begin with the multiple charges announced just now that Matt and I waited to discuss by Letitia James, who was the New York Attorney General, against the NRA and its leaders, notably Wayne LaPierre. For the record, folks, the NRA spent $30 million on Trump 2016, $50 million in total on the election of Republicans for the 2016 election. And that's where we begin. With a bang! Pun intended. Honestly, Matt, I think this is tremendously huge for a lot of different reasons. What's your first take?
My first take is a little cautious, I guess, in terms of let's see where this goes. They've got, obviously the NRA is going to contest it, and we're going to see probably a fairly protracted court battle. But these statutes dealing with nonprofits and fraud are pretty powerful. We saw that with Trump himself with his charities in New York State. So we'll just have to see. I guess my first question is what it does to NRA fundraising. They were having issues anyway in terms of raising money and getting it out the door. So I wonder if that's going to affect their donor base, or if their donors just say, "Oh, it's all fake news," and keep writing checks. So I don't know. Whenever you go into court, it's a little bit of a crapshoot.
The thing about New York, Southern District, they always win. Very rarely do they lose. That's number one. But number two, there are two ways to approach as we look at this. One is the political. The other is the legal. You just discussed the legal. Politically, I think this is just going to be massive for a lot of reasons. One is on the Democrats, who have been trying to take the NRA out for what, Matt? Forever, right? Since its inception, and we're always unable to do that. And I think, and I think the web of this is going to go into, look, they're huge contributors to Republicans. Who didn't know what was going on? I mean, we knew this was going on just 2 years ago when LaPierre was taken out or left the first time. Remember? I mean, this was brought up back then.
There was a huge grifting element.
Yeah.
That they, were spending tons of money on themselves.
And on their Republicans, and the Republicans were taking it. And, I've never believed in the message of the NRA. I have to say that, because I think most people in America could give a hoot until the Republicans made it an issue of guns in America in terms of my right to own a gun, unless you live in Oshkosh, B'gosh, West Virginia, maybe. But so, it's always been a political machine, rather, I think, than anything else. And so I think this is going to have some huge repercussions. Interesting, yesterday they actually announced that they were going to be throwing millions into the Republican campaign. There may be some people who don't want to go near them now on the Republican side. Things are scary enough for them. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who's going to start turning down NRA money because Democratic Attorney General in New York State started.
Okay, so you're of that mode. I don't know. These are strange times. I think these are very strange times, and there's a lot of fear in the Republican Party right now. Although we're going to discuss that in a minute. Okay, so that one, I think it's a. It was worth her going.
I think potentially it is too.
No, I know you don't think so right away. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, you got to process. We've got the election pretty close. It's still going to be getting litigated between now.
But it is a psychological hit on the Republicans, where no man was able to get before this woman sitting as Attorney General in New York. God bless her. She got it. She did it. She did it. She did it, and she did it, 89 days before the election. It can only help. It can't hurt the Democrats as far as I'm concerned. But let's get back to, the story of the week, the month, the year. Oh, I'm so exhausted from this COVID thing. The first thing I want to talk about is kids going back.
Well, give us a little report from Florida.
Yeah, well, there's nothing much to...
You're at ground zero.
Look, buddy, I can only say this. Everybody's acting as if it doesn't really exist. On the one hand, we had this little, dust up with Mother Nature last week, and you got it worse than we got it, actually. But it was a great excuse for DeSantis to shut down all the testing, which Trump doesn't want in the first place. So they did that. That was powerful. And everybody took to their beds. Everybody went home and went to sleep for a couple of days because you couldn't go out. You go to the supermarket and then you come home when we're told that there's going to be some kind of weather event. But it didn't happen. But it did slow down the testing. It stopped the testing on the East Coast completely, which is still just ramping up now. And it sent people home. How wonderful, because that's where they should be in the first place. Home.
Right.
So today they put figures out that were in the 6,000 mark, way below the 10. That's been the average. I suspect that'll be the way it is for, a week or so, because people went home and stayed home rather than go out because there was a hurricane supposedly coming, and they stopped the testing, which is going to affect everything. So there is that. But there's some ugly stuff going on in the state, man. I got to tell you that people in the state probably aren't aware of. Only geeks like me or you would understand. And I mean, DeSantis quietly changed there's a thing that to stop evictions and foreclosures. And he went in there quietly and he changed some of the wording, which effectively says you can evict and you can foreclose easier than you were able to before. You see that in the front page of any of the papers? No, but it happened. So there's that. There's this, he's just, honest to gosh, the most horrible human being. And then the other part is, there's this big problem here with unemployment insurance. Massive problem. People can't get it. You go online, the thing doesn't work. And I've heard this story from so many people that they can't get it just because they can't get it. They can't put the paperwork in. I found something out about this too, Matt. This all was done under Rick Scott. He cooked up a deal with Deloitte when and Deloitte was paid $77 million by Floridians to put this website and this whole thing together, which was really put together in order to stop it. So what do you think happened yesterday? They struck a new deal with Deloitte. Ready for the figure? $135 million. And the website still doesn't work properly. And the system.
What a mess.
This is the governor of Florida. This is
what a mess.
Right?
And what's going on with his popularity down
down the tubes. But that's not going to stop him, and I don't understand that either. Come on, Mr. My friend who knows everything about politics. Would you explain to me why a guy who had, 80% approval is down in the 30s keeps on doing the same old thing the same old way and expect some kind of different result? What can Trump give him that it's worth him doing this and killing all these people? Oh, and by the way, the other one is he wants to open up senior citizen homes where the figures again are up to the moon and they can't control it in these senior care facilities. But he wants to open. If you will explain that to me, I'll love you forever. Not that I won't anyway, but.
Well, I can't explain his motivations. I mean, you've suggested that he's doing it at Trump's behest, but it may just be that he's ideological and this is what he believes, or he's an idiot and this is what he knows.
But remember, he wasn't an idiot. Remember how he'd had everybody in his grasp. He was 83%, I think. Like, he had the highest approval ratings of any Republican governor. What's the point of this? That's all that I'm asking. What's the point? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can't explain it, but
it is bizarre.
But nobody's gone back to a full shutdown. So if that's what you're expecting of him, he's not going to do that.
There's some. That's a story that we should probably talk about, because you say nobody's gone to a full shutdown, and that's true that they haven't. But I think that Fauci and Birx are starting to change their tune on that, and that's what the schism is between them and Trump at this point. First of all, I call her Birx Trump's Twirl Girl.
But he attacked her.
Well, she attacked him. She finally had enough, I guess, and realized that he wasn't taking things seriously, and then he attacked her.
Right, not so Twirl Girl anymore.
Not so Twirl Girl anymore. Well, at some point, your own reputation, Trump will go away, but she still will have to, move on. Every day she's reading the Riot Act. Fauci's mostly talking right now about the fact that his family is getting, threatened up the yin-yang, his kids and daughters and whatever. But I think they're pushing, or they're moving towards, if we don't do that now, come November or October, we're going to be in horrid shape. I think that's what they're moving to. That's what I think. I think that's the argument, and that's why they're at loggerheads, because come on, Fauci and Birx both see the numbers and what's going on, and they're out of control, and they're not going to get into control. I just heard a story about what's going on in Texas. They're actually shipping people to Mexico in one of these border towns because they have no way to handle the amount of cases.
What a mess.
What a sad mess. What an absolutely sad mess this is, really and truly. This is the United States of America. No more. By the way, testing is way down across the country, almost 4%. Which is what Trump wanted. And then I'm going to bring up the other thing is, I don't think that you can trust any numbers because they're not going through the CDC anymore.
Right. So any numbers you think out of the states or whatever.
It's not out of the states. It's going through. Everything has to be sent for aggregation to the White House. So who knows?
Right.
Who knows? And let's talk about what's going on in New York, where the mayor of New York City, who's just lost one of his health person, who said, you're not doing enough, just did enough and said, guess what? You want to come into New York? This is like the West Bank or Dodge City. You're going to have to answer to the sheriff first if you're coming from one of these states. I mean, they're seeing something that's scaring the hell out of them.
Absolutely. I think, look, we're seeing these return spikes in a lot of places. Germany. We've seen it in Singapore before. I mean, they're still at much lower levels, but Israel, of course,
right.
Beating it down, and then it came back strong. Now it's going back down again.
Well, they shut down pretty much, Israel.
Yeah.
Well, they closed the schools, and their upsurge, by the way, was with the schools. I think where I am on this right now, and I'm curious to what you say, is I do think it's out of control. I do think this is a failed, hot mess by Trump and the administration. They're digging in their heels, and I only see OMG for the future. And sooner rather than later, it's not going away. We're all going to be in lockdown, because what are they going to do when it goes to the moon everywhere in October or September or November when flu season hits? That's what they're bracing for. That's why Trump doesn't want to do it now. He'll have no choice when that second wave comes through. So here's another little piece of trivia. Major insurers, health insurance company, are reporting record profits. Record profits. Because why? Because you don't go to the doctor anymore in most of the states, including mine. You do it over the phone. There's no cost involved, and then they're billing like crazy, and
nobody's getting preventative care.
Exactly. So there is a clause apparently in OCare that says that if they reach a certain threshold on profitability, they have to give it back. I haven't seen anybody going after that money. Have you?
No, I haven't. I mean, I don't know whether they can, sort of find accounting tricks to avoid that. That's a good question. I don't think I realized there was kind of a windfall profit.
There's a windfall profit. Yeah. Look it up. It's interesting. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, there's no deal on the COVID talks, and the Senate's talking about going home.
The enhanced unemployment, right? Giving people. Extending the current $600 above normal unemployment.
Well, they're nowhere on any of it, are they? Have they reached an agreement on anything really that we're aware of?
No, there's this whole, what do we do now? What should this next package look like? And a lot of Republicans are suddenly shocked that there's a deficit, and they're getting all prissy about deficit spending. So there's, Ted Cruz and Langford and others are saying, well, we can't be spending all this money. This after the Trump tax cuts and the first wave of spending on this. And, it's just nuts. There's every indication Congress needs to, and the administration need to keep spending. And, both to keep people out of the poorhouse, but also to, keep enough stimulus in the economy to keep it going. So I think they'll probably reach some compromise the next day or two before people hear this broadcast. But it's still a mess that it's taking them this long to get it done.
It's pathetic is what it is. But I see why Nancy's holding her ground on that $600. But see, the interesting thing is, so the unemployment numbers came out. Now, again, if it's coming out of this White House, I think we have to question a great deal what's coming out of the White House. And it went down a tick, I think from 1.4 maybe to 1.3 or something like that. But the thing about it was during the week of ICISIS or whatever the hell the name of that thing was. And so the whole country, rolled over a 6-day period, if you will, into lockdown because of the hurricane. So nobody was going out to either look for a job or to file for unemployment because, it was raining a lot. I think that's factored into it. Could be. Could be. See, the thing about it is I don't think you can trust anything coming out of this White House. I just don't. Grifters grift, and he's a grifting. So that's my thought on that. You got anything else to say on this subject? By the way, DeSantis, just one other thing for my friends from Florida who are great listeners. You may not know this, guys, but, he had that meeting with the Sheriff's Association. Right. Just about every one of them who's there, except for DeSantis, has tested positive. Every sheriff. There are no sheriffs. They're all home in quarantine. Because they're all sick with the damn disease that doesn't really exist and that's going away. I mean, you want to talk about, I don't think we should just roll over that interview with Trump did with Axios. That was wild. That was just wild. It is what it is.
Yes, it is what it is.
I thought that was the best interview I'd seen for a number of reasons, but I'm not a great fan of Jonathan, whatever the last name is. Betsy Swan's husband. He's okay. He's good. But he has a unusual delivery, doesn't he? He has a way about him that Trump just didn't get at all. And Trump was barreling on thinking he was winning that all the way down the line. And, Jonathan was just kind of giving him that look. And that look was all he had. He didn't have to say a word. He just had to raise that little eyebrow just ever so slightly. Yes, Mr. President? But it showed something about Trump in a way that it hadn't been shown before, about how he'll say anything to win an argument. Absolutely anything. And most of the time he gets away with it. He just barrels on.
Yeah, I thought it was masterfully done. It's very. I've interviewed presidents, and it's not easy. It's not easy to kind of cut them off and find the right balance between letting them answer and jumping in there. I mean, that's hard in any interview, but it's especially hard on camera. It's especially hard with the president. So I thought, especially hard with a president whose native language is not English.
Yeah.
So, it's...
The thing about it is, because you know better than anybody in that great career of yours that you need to get to the answers, but on the other hand, you can only go so far because you know that they'll shut you down and you'll never see them again and never get another opportunity. There's that, there's that manipulation in the presidency itself gives, that it's a rough road to toe. So he did a masterful job. But he let Trump be Trump. That's why it was so.
Yeah, I mean the John Lewis question. He.
Oh God,
he just let Trump hang himself.
Right. Yeah.
John Lewis didn't come to my inauguration.
I mean, what is that with Trump? Seriously, what is that? That's just odd. But that's.
I think it just explains everything.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, look, you're either. I mean, I won't get into it too much, but I'd say that he just views people in terms of whether he thinks they respect, adore him or not. And that's...
he's a child. He's a child. That's how kids, at that, when they're kids are. Love me? Do you love me? Mommy, do you love me? Daddy, do you love me? I mean, it's, anyway, he's whatever. Well, let's get to the 2020 election deal. Okay, Halli's gut instincts, based on some fact.
Halli, I trust your instincts. By the time we talk in a week or so, we'll probably have a vice president. Maybe not. But
he better hurry up because they're beating him up on that. But there's a slight change going on, and that is, first of all, I see some erosion in Biden's polls because Trump is back on the air. I haven't seen an ad that Trump has done that's worthy of anything close to what the Dems or the Lincoln Project has put up, but nevertheless, he is back on the air. Harry Anton from CNN says that he thinks that Trump's polls have at least stabilized. He's not going down in the polls. And I feel that, I sense that, I see that, and I'm actually worried about that. Now, whether he gets some ink that's positive because of the vice presidential thing that'll catapult him, but it's tightening. It
had to. It had to.
Yeah, but I mean, it's maybe a little too early for it to be tightening. I wish it had waited at least a little bit longer, like to the end of August. So I'm worried that Biden might have peaked too early.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I think.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. Look, Trump can, some of it is natural tightening that kind of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents will start to come home as the choice, kind of clarifies and is more in their face. But Trump's got a lot to make up to try to get to 270 electoral votes. It's possible he can. I would still sort of guess he can't.
Well, I think at this point, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Forgive me. Yeah, go.
I think his main attacks on Biden, that Biden is senile, or is okay. I don't think it sort of logically follows that if you don't want Trump, you're going to come back to Trump because you think Biden is mentally deteriorating. I mean, first of all, Trump is no barrel. Trump is in the sharpest tool in the drawer. And then, okay, so if he's senile, then, whoever, then Susan Rice takes over or whatever. I don't think that's their most effective argument. Now, I'm not.
I don't think they have another argument. They do. They have two arguments.
I don't know why they're not just sort of going back to taxes, immigration,
race relations.
There's enough policy they could do.
Well, I actually think that the one is the one that Kamala Harris handed over to them, and they're not taking it. Maybe they're saving it for if she's the vice presidential nominee, because she gave the Republicans need black voters, and she gave them the reason to vote for Trump. She did it,
right?
Which is why it's going to be ludicrous if she becomes.
And black voters turned on her. I mean, it didn't.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's very, very odd. Now you have Kanye West, and
I mean, I think they're anti-Biden arguments where he's got some
vulnerability.
He's got more room to roam, but including he's been a politician for 50 years.
I disagree with you there. I disagree with you there, because I think a lot of people in the middle right now are going, that was our mistake. We went with Trump because we were tired of politicians who've been in there for all that time, and the old guard and the whole. And I think right now there are a lot of Americans, whether they're telling you that or not, are going, can we just get back to normal? And that's partly the COVID thing too. It all kind of wraps into one thing together. So I think people want stability, and they're not going to get that out of Trump. And that argument isn't going to play for Trump, I don't think. But that's just what I think. So, but your point's well taken.
It's not a good sign when you have to pull all your ads down.
Right. Absolutely.
Regroup.
I mentioned Kanye West, and I do want to talk about that because it's so typical Republican. They get the Republicans start working to get Kanye West on the ballot in states so that he is like the Green Party and can take some votes away from Biden. Couldn't have they come up with somebody better than Kanye West, who's bipolar and is freaking out all over the place and is like everybody's freak show rapper now?
Well, I don't know if they came up with him or they took advantage of him.
Either way, it's
doing it.
It's a real come down for the Republican Party.
Yeah, well, there was, I don't know, there's no Jill Stein, there's no Tulsi Gabbard, there's no one else to.
Yeah, well, it certainly is.
Kind of run off some votes here.
Right. You were listening to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts weekly at hallicasserjayne.com and is available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on all your favorite apps. You can find the Halli Casser-Jayne Show on your Alexa device, too. Just say the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Oh, and come play with me on Twitter at the Halli CJ Show. Got a lot to get to, and I still want to talk to you about something that is annoying me about this also. This goes hand in hand with what I said, Matt, about I think that the tide is slightly changing. Yeah, in those primaries the other day, there were some interesting wins and losses. But, and we can discuss those, and we can discuss the fact that I think the Democratic Party is turning dangerously left, the way the Republican Party turned dangerously right. Some of these people, oh my gosh, way far left, way far left. But the one that I don't understand, and I've been dying to talk to you about this all week, was Kelly McGrath, how she can be 17 points down against Mitch McConnell. If you can explain that to me, I want to understand it. Because I don't care how long he's been in there. He's gotten a lot of negative press. He's got a lot of problems. The only thing he delivered on were the courts, but, he's been screwy as a light bulb. I mean, what's the story? Why can't she, 17 points? Seems big. Yeah. I don't get it.
Well, that's a big gap. I can't totally explain it. I mean, it's a state Trump won by 30. So, you're dealing with a very pro-Trump base there. She had an exciting primary battle that where she got beat up a lot, so that kind of diminished.
So she's a lousy candidate.
African American enthusiasm. Yeah, I think she lost in one of the most favorable House districts in Kentucky. So now she's running statewide, where it's much more unfriendly terrain. And I just think, there was a lot of excitement kind of, media and elsewhere go, she's a pilot. She's in the military, and she has a compelling personal story.
Well, she certainly didn't play it well, that's for sure. And the polls are showing.
That's enough.
Apparently not. Yeah. Very disappointing. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, she's not. But generally, Democratic Senate candidates look pretty strong.
Generally, my boy, Mr. Bullock, is only at a toss-up right now. He's not winning.
Yeah, well, he had some campaign issues the last week or two.
Yeah, so
with his aide.
Yeah, but he should be able to pull that out. I'm thinking. Are you thinking that?
I think he can. He's a pretty popular governor. He's incumbent. Daines is not a great.
No, he's not a good candidate, and it depends.
But it's still probably a plus 20 state for Trump. So it's the terrain is tough. But I think he can win. They'll have enough money.
He is doing well in the money department. By the way, we're speaking of money. Biden for 2 months had Trump on raising money. He didn't last month. That's another bellwether to me.
Yes. Well, and especially when it happens.
Yeah.
Normally at the end of the primaries, the challenger's kind of exhausted, and this is when they're kind of depleted their money, trying to win their battles and stuff. And Trump had a big fundraising advantage, and that's usually where you use a lot of your money to sort of pile on the guy and drive him down. But they didn't drive down his numbers, and Biden replenished his coffers. So now Biden's in, very good.
Biden just he just did the biggest ad buy of any presidential candidate in history. There's a couple of great ads he's running here, by the way. The one that he's doing at that senior place, what is it called? The Villages. He's got an ad in there that is just showing up all over my TV set. Oh my God, whether I'm on Roku or I'm on,
Yeah, so he's doing good with the golf cart crowd.
Oh yeah, because what he's done, he's saying I can't see my grandchildren. It's really heart-wrenching. We can FaceTime or we can Zoom, but we can't see our grandchildren. It's a really effective ad. I gotta give him. What about the stuff with the cognitive test? Should they both take cognitive tests? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going to spend all this money questioning Biden's mental acuity, and then we'll have debates, and I assume Biden will
be fine.
He'll probably make some stumble that they'll try to make a huge deal out of, but
he did all right in the primaries. I mean, all things they were beating him up the press, but he came through at the end. It's the other thing about.
I just don't think. I don't think when the debates are over, people are going to say, "My God, this guy is."
No, right? Because he's not. He's not. He's not senile at all. By the way, because he wouldn't be where he is right now if he were senile at all.
Yeah,
he's got a stutter.
Trump is not projecting, youth and figures. So.
Did you see Biden's ad with him getting in his Corvette?
Yeah, no, that was clever.
And I'm thinking to myself, Trump couldn't get his right leg into a Corvette.
Yeah, it was more sort of, testosterone.
Oh, it was brilliant. No, it was absolutely brilliant. It made him look young, vigorous, he and his cool glasses and his Corvette, and he backed it up. And I thought to myself, whoever came up with that one, that was great. Because but somebody do you remember the scene in, what was that movie? Pillow Talk, when Rock Hudson tries to get into the old MG, right. Or whatever it was. I'm thinking Trump couldn't even get that far. I mean, it was like, isn't going to happen.
Yeah, imagine Trump has not been behind the wheel of a car in a long time.
I don't think he probably never drove a car in his life, brat that he is. How about this? Karen Bass. How could all of that been out there and they let her be a vice presidential on the list?
It's kind of amazing. I mean, she's not, she's from LA. The Los Angeles Times is out there, presumably. It seems like there's a lot of this they never wrote about either.
She talked about let's tell people what we're talking about here.
Right.
She gave a pro Scientology thing. She's been in Cuba and she's supporting Cuba revolutionaries or whatever, Castro regime.
Well,
I mean,
right. In her youth, she was into radical politics.
Right.
She went to Cuba a bunch of times, and then but more recently, she had very sort of kind words for Castro when he died.
Not something you do.
And it's not a great flirt.
No. So I just, those kind of things are the kind of things that I think are going to do the Dems in personally. That kind of silliness.
You hope that they know all the weaknesses of their prospective Veep nominees before they make a decision, but there's always the possibility that they're going to get surprised by something.
So it's down to Harris and Rice?
No, well, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, Duckworth could still be in it, and then
Val Demings.
You don't know if Bass is out. Yeah, and then
Bass is out. How that you can't?
I assume she's out, but I assume she is, unless they feel they can just muscle their way through this problem.
No, I always said that she had a problem anyway. I always thought she was a problem for them anyway. Remember what I said? I said, this is not racist. This is just the reality of how they need white votes. And they're going to have trouble. I think having a woman on the ticket is still going to be an issue with some of the white male voters that they're going to try and extract.
Yeah. Well, I never thought he should have, boxed himself in, because it takes away from the woman choice if you declare you're only looking at women.
Right.
It just sort of removes the surprise and I just don't know why you would ever box yourself in on any type. But now they've really, by leaking all these African-American names, it seems to me if they don't pick an African-American
it's going to be,
woman,
exactly.
Then there's going to be a lot of you let us down and we're pissed and we got caved. And I don't actually think many voters, it'll affect that many voters. These Veep choices never do, but at least among the press. And don't totally write off Bottoms.
Who? What?
The mayor of Keisha Bottoms.
Oh, you think? I don't think so. Not that she wouldn't be great. Unlikely.
I think the press will give them hard. There's one question the press will ask is is this person ready to be president? And with Harris and Rice and Duckworth, they'll probably all say yeah. But
I've heard some argument against Rice on that score because she's never run for office, and that seems to have the press up in arms a little bit.
It's definitely a risk for a race. I mean, there's a reason so few non-candidates have ever run and been nominated.
Listen, I think Harris is a gamble. I do. I think she is a gamble.
I think she's a gamble, and
a big gamble, a bigger gamble than he needs to take. Or he should take.
But
that's my theory. I mean, she's adorable. She's personable. She's smart. But then she's not. But then she's not.
Charismatic and
but then she's not so smart.
She's sort of a cop, and she's sort of not a cop.
Right.
And
well, she's got a twinkle in her eye.
Clearly, look, she's charismatic and she's interesting, and
honestly, now that go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't know if he
can forgive her.
It's not the forgiveness. You want someone who's just running you want someone who wants your job the first day they get there.
No, I don't think. Does she have to play that right now? He's a one-term president if he gets in. Everybody knows that. So why would she? Anybody, if you were in that position or I were in that position, I would be thinking, just do what you mark. Your P's and Q's. Do what you need to do. Give him all the support he needs. Know that you're loyal. I wouldn't go for myself at that point. It's 4 lousy years. So that's my theory on that. Yeah,
well,
you hear what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying. I don't know. It's too. I think it's.
However, I do think that the other thing is black women of power have also boxed him in, which is going to make a lot of people angry that I'm saying that, but it needs to be said. They want a black woman. They feel like they got Biden as far as he got, and they want the payback for it. And I hate identity friggin' politics. Period.
Yeah.
Let's shut that conversation.
If that's where you're gonna end up, don't announce it so far.
Exactly.
Telegraph it.
Exactly. So it's crazy stuff. Yeah, it's just wild.
Or then, if you don't do it, you're looking like you've betrayed people. I mean, they should at least be leaking that, some white names or something.
Well, the only one they've come up with is what's her face, Pocahontas.
Yeah, I guess you're not hearing that so much. So maybe Pocahontas is still in play. I don't know.
Well, that would be fatal to Biden if you ask me, because for a lot of different reasons. So anyway, I'm looking at my notes and I tweeted this morning that I think that before Biden agrees to a debate, that he should insist that Trump release his tax returns. And people went nuts in agreement. Biden's sitting in a better position than Trump is. Trump right now is trying to move them up a little bit before the mail-in voting thing really cooks in. And I'm saying, well, why should Biden do that for him? But really, why shouldn't Biden make an issue of, give us your tax returns? Then we can talk. Why not?
Well, that's smart.
That's what I would do. If you're sitting in the pretty seat, you got a little more control. Do it. Mr. Biden, you hear me? Do it. Joe? That's what they need to do. Yosemite, my Yosemite friend.
Yes, Yosemite. Yes.
That killed me. And for those who don't know, Trump is reading and he's got Yosemite and he calls it Yosemite. You can't make this stuff up. Just can't. U.S. Postal Service going to be a problem, or are they going to solve that issue with the reversing the slowing?
No, I think it's an issue. I think this is big demand on the system to get this done right, and they're screwing up a lot of things. They've already got a lot of extra work because of COVID. So there's a lot of strain on the system. I think it's an issue.
I think it's an issue.
Everybody just has to get ready for election month instead of election day,
And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever you have to do to make it safe and fair and
yeah. Just meaning the counting's going to go.
Yeah, I understand what you said, but so.
Yeah, well, I think I think Trump, his people are going to vote in person, mostly. So, he could be doing a little better on election night than in the final result. He might try to. But
it's okay to vote by mail in Florida. Just don't do it in Nevada, where he's likely to lose. This guy is such a grifter.
He's going to lose. Yeah, the states have pretty wide latitude.
Just ridiculous. And how about this? Can I come stay on your couch if we have to cover the acceptance speech on the White House lawn? Because the rates at his hotel have gone sky high in anticipation of people either coming to Washington for his...
for his acceptance?
He raised, it came out this morning, he raised, he was hoping maybe he could move the quote-unquote, what do you call it? What's it called? When everybody accepts it.
Not the inauguration, but the acceptance speech.
Well, the acceptance speech before that, they were going to have...
Yeah, for the nomination.
To Washington, and so he raised prices, and he was going to try and stage it all in D.C. Well, but they caught him raising his prices.
I figured the thing would end up in Mar-a-Lago. They would just be in a ballroom.
Well, you can't do it here, because you can't come to Florida, honey.
Yeah, so...
anybody that comes to this state is crackers, literally. In every way, shape, and form, because this is not a safe place to be. Not a safe place to be on any level. So that Beirut blast.
That's an incredible thing to behold, and it's so awful for the city and the people of Beirut. It's really, you try to imagine a city so screwed up that they're keeping, 2,700 tons of highly combustible material next to a fireworks factory.
Oh, boy. But, there are all these things that it was Hezbollah, and they all knew that it was there, and nobody did anything about it. But, Trump said it was war.
Yeah, even the Lebanese aren't. The Lebanese aren't saying that.
No, right. I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's just a screw up of monumental, epic proportions that they seized all this shit and, they couldn't figure out what to do with it for years.
Just crazy story. Just an absolutely crazy story. It's very sad. Ben Wiederman, kind of lives there, and you could see he was so shaken up. It was ridiculous. I've never seen him like that. He was literally almost speechless through this whole thing. I guess he's a CNN bureau was completely annihilated in it. Yeah, I had that happen. I have a great picture of me in Salvador during the war at the hotel at the ABC bureau, and the bomb. My good friend Eli Reed, who's just one of the best war photographers ever, is teaching now. Where's he teaching at UCLA? Maybe. Was photographing me in front of this big window, and a bomb went off at the Metro Sur behind me. And the glass just fractured. And they're screaming at me, get out of the damn window. And I'm like, oh okay. I'll do that. Shit, it's scary when bombs go off around you. So something like that, can you imagine? You think the world's coming to an end. You think the world's coming to an end. Okay.
Yeah, no,
did I lose you? Did I lose your attention? Did I bore you?
No, I'm just sort of still kind of in awe of those pictures I saw where, people are so upset by the first blast and then the second one. Oh, God. It's
just for the life of me cannot imagine. I just can't. So our hearts go out to the people in Beirut like they don't have enough problems. Are you going to South Dakota, by the way, this weekend? Did you get your bike out? Yeah. Did you get your bike out?
Yeah, with my Harley.
Uh-huh.
No.
How stupid is that?
Yeah.
How absolutely stupid is that? 60% of the residents say, do not let these people in, and they're letting them in anyway. What is wrong with that woman?
Yeah, I think they tried to discourage it, but these guys are going to come anyway, and Governor Kristi Noem's not going to use the state police to stop them. So
she is really off the friggin' wall. Where do these people come from?
Yeah, at least they're outdoors.
Well, yeah, but they're saying they're not going to wear masks anyway. So, who knows what the story is with indoors, outdoors, indoors, because nobody knows. Every other day I'm reading a different report from these, who people have things to say, and they say, oh, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's 7 feet. No, it's 4 feet. No, it's 12 feet. No, it's 2. Who knows?
We don't really know.
Nobody knows. This is just silly stuff. Michelle Obama, in her podcast, I thought was incredible last week, admitting that she's been suffering from low-level depression, which I would say 95% of America probably is at this point. The stress is so high. But wasn't that something for her to say it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Honesty. Yeah. I love honesty from politicians. I really, 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 really do. So good for her. So before I close, what did I miss, darling?
Oh, Halli. Well, I think we hit all the major ones. I just think building on what you said about Michelle, I just think the sort of exhaustion level of people, as they realize that this is going to go on, that there's no end to it anytime soon, and that all these schools are still screwed up. Nobody really knows the right thing to do about opening them.
Well, no. Everybody knows what the right thing to do is. Everybody.
Which is keep them closed.
Of course. There's not a teacher you talk to who doesn't say that. I've talked to many. Everybody says the same thing. The reality. I'm glad you brought that up again, because I did say something this morning about that. We're talking now September, October, November, December, January. There's a lot that can happen between those months. But let's just say the first quarter of the school year. No kids, whatever skills, are going to be forever destroyed because they weren't in a school atmosphere for 4 months. Not going to happen. It's not like they're not interacting with other people, with their friends and their neighborhoods, because I'm sure that continues. They are all computer savvy at 7 these days, you know. I think it's a massive trade-off, life versus a few months that they don't get to interact with other kids on a daily basis, which they won't anyway, because all the schools are going to every other day, if anything. None of them are doing 5 days a week, except in very rare circumstances. So that's my thought on that, and I think that that's an important thought to put out there. I just think this is all about Trump and money, and this has got nothing to do with those damn poor kids. And parents know that.
Well, parents, you know.
And teachers know that, which is why teachers even down here are getting the unions to go in and into court on it and saying, we don't want to go back.
Right, but there are a lot of parents who want their kids.
Well, no, there are a lot of parents who don't have a choice. That's the issue. It's not that they want their kids to go back. It's a Sophie's choice. Send my kid to school because I have to feed them, and that's the only place they're going to get a meal because I have a job, but it pays me minimum wage. If I don't go to the job, I have nobody to take care of my kid. My kid has to go back to school.
But even people who have jobs are like, I can't take it anymore, you know.
Well, so don't be a parent. Child Protective Services, hey, here's somebody over here who doesn't want to do their job. I mean, seriously, you became a parent at a choice, and, you know, good, bad, it's like a marriage. Good, bad, or indifferent, there you go. Unless you're you and me. We go.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You get divorced.
I just think this is the lowest of the low as far as America is concerned, in my opinion, because this really is a nightmare of a trade-off that doesn't necessarily need to be made. And there are other things. And if they had money coming in, by the way, or, for instance, some part of the package was that there could be, food stamps for some families, they wouldn't be the ones sending their kids back to school so quickly, which is what I told you happened here. Most of them were sending the kids to school because they needed to feed the kids. So you SNAP gets extended, and that alleviates the problem. Maybe there's some sort of thing where you can you get time off, you get paid for your time off to take care of your kid. Whatever. Just don't infect the whole world, because Trump wants the kids back in school so that the economy is moving again. That's it. That's where he's at. Let's end on a low note. Can we end on a low note?
Yeah, that was a low note.
I'm going lower.
It can only get better.
Jerry Jerry Falwell's unzipped pants lowered below his you-know-where, just about, with his wife's assistant. That's low, honey. That's low.
Yes.
What?
Yes. To help the flock, you must help the pastor.
Come on. What the hey? First the pool boy, then the photos of the wife and the pool boy, and now this, and people are still, and he still is the head of a university? Are you friggin' kidding me? Come on, Matt. Talk to me. I just can't handle it.
Yeah. Not shocking.
And, the NRA and the Franklin Graham's and Jerry Falwell's of the world. And, as a Jew, I actually believe that the sky is falling and the rapture is coming. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That upset me. I have to tell you, I laughed about it. I tweeted about it. I talked to friends about it. This, that, and the other thing. But it was really just a bridge too far for me. There's just the moral and ethical dirge in this country has gone to levels I never would have thought. You know what everybody says to me? I don't know. You and I grew up in a different generation, right? In terms of who people today versus how we grew up. But this isn't how people were. And if they were, they did it behind closed doors. I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the sick. COVID can kill, but the sickness of moral, degeneration, is that the right way to put it? That's the sickness that we really need to look at in this country when all is said and done. All right. I'm off my soapbox. Yeah. I said enough.
No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. All right, sweetie. I said I could go lower. That's low.
That's low.
Jerry Falwell, pull up your pants.
Okay, and on that note.
Good night, sweetie, or good afternoon, or wherever the hell we are. I'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
You were listening to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts weekly at hallicasserjayne.com and is available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on all your favorite apps. You can find the Halli Casser-Jayne Show on your Alexa device, too. Just say, the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Oh, and come play with me on Twitter at the Halli CJ Show. Thank you for tuning in to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, a production of Resec LLC. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is available at hallicasserjayne.com and on all your favorite apps. Be sure to visit us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at the Halli CJ Show. Until next time, this is Halli Casser-Jayne.